Hi, I'm Paris, and about 3 weeks ago I did my first in a series of videos about turning my backyard into a sweet potato farm. Well, more of a very large garden. And the first step in that was I needed to get the slips. The slips is what should be growing out of my sweet potatoes when they get to about 6 inches long. You can break them off, plant them in a little light soil in a temporary pot and get them to take root and then transplant them into the backyard once the last chance of frost has passed and start the garden growing. These guys haven't been the most cooperative potatoes. As a quick refresher, I'm working with 4 varieties of sweet potato. I have the Stokes sweet potato, purple outside, purple inside. I have Murasaki, which is purple outside, white inside. I have Jewell, which is the most traditional sweet potato, at least in the US. You probably find these in every supermarket, and they are orangish outside and orangish inside. And finally, the Hannah sweet potato. This one is kind of unusual. It's cream colored outside, cream colored inside. You might think it's a regular russet potato till you taste it. This is a sampling of the sweet potatoes I have prepared. I actually have 18 of them in cups. The rest are out on the windowsill in the kitchen. I'll let you have a look at the sweet potatoes in the windowsill. Each variety is behaving differently from each of the others. The sweet potatoes that are so vibrantly purple inside are pretty much the main food group in the traditional diet of the Okinawans, where people regularly live to be 100 years old. Absolutely nothing happened with the Stokes sweet potato for like the first week and a half, except it seemed to turn the purple water each time I changed out the water every 3 or 4 days. Then these little white dots appeared on the surface. Now they never developed into roots, so they're sort of more like holes that seem to be sucking water into the potato to support the growth of these slips, which over the past few days have really taken off and are coming in nicely. You can see them sticking outside here. I expect to get 5 or 6 of them from each potato. I anticipated having slips about 6 inches long that I could plant about 6 weeks after starting these potatoes out in water, and so this one is right on schedule. But what of the Murasaki potato? Purple outside, white inside. Murasaki meaning purple in Japanese. Like nothing going on until maybe yesterday. The tiniest little root hole looking things opened up in just a few spots. And as for slips, there is the tiniest, like I need my reading glasses on to see it, littlest thing right here and another tiny one right here. I think they're slips. They could just be some little deformation of the skin of the potato. In any case, I'm finally seeing some activity with the Murasaki potatoes. I was concerned that they may have been treated with a chemical to inhibit sprouting, which they do put on some potatoes and sweet potatoes. If you buy organic, that shouldn't be applied to the potatoes, but I couldn't remember whether these were or not. Next up is the Hannah sweet potato. These were pretty inactive for the first 10 days or so also, and then finally some short roots started coming in. And there's now at least one that goes all the way to the bottom of the cup. So we're developing a nice root system, but where are my slips? Now the most common, Jewell sweet potato, it started going crazy maybe 4 or 5 days after I started it out in the cup. I saw the roots coming in, and now they are filling the bottom of the cup. This sweet potato really wants to grow. But for all those roots, what do I have in the way of slips? Just a couple days ago, these 2 little things came in. So at 6 weeks, I feel confident I'll have something to plant in those little starter pots that you put the little disc of soil and add water and it fills up. So that's what I'm going to put them in next and put those in the windowsill until it's warm enough to plant in the garden. The Stokes potato with just the little white dots instead of roots has the best set of slips going, and that's good because this is the most expensive of the sweet potato that I regularly eat, so I'd really like to be able to grow these myself. The Murasaki and Jewell sweet potatoes have 2 little slips just starting. Hopefully they'll get in gear soon. And the Hannah sweet potato with the nice root system coming in, no sign of any slips. This one I think just said white sweet potato on the label at the store, because I usually can't even find this at my local store. So I'm not really sure if this one is organic, but if they sprayed it with something to stop it from sprouting, I would think the roots wouldn't develop. So still got hope for the Hannah potatoes. The nice root system developed on all of the Jewell sweet potatoes, but pretty sparse in the slip department. One little one there. None that I can see on these 2 yet. Here are more Murasaki. No sign of any roots on these except for this one, which is doing pretty good. It's got a number of those white dots as well as a couple roots that you can see hanging down there. And No roots on this Murasaki. As for slips, don't see any, don't see any, don't see any. Maybe a tiny little one up here. The other two Hannah, these were down at the end of the line. I hadn't really noticed they actually did have some little roots come in. And I don't see any slips there, but I'm thinking on this one, there are two little slips just coming in on each side. And the other Stokes sweet potatoes, not much in the way of roots here. You can see a couple white dots there, tiny little one there. And with these two Stokes potatoes, I conducted a little experiment. You can see the one on the right, I cut the top off. The one on the left, I cut part of the bottom off. So I thought, well, if I cut off the top, maybe there would be more slips. If I cut off the bottom, maybe there would be more roots. And wow, did that seem to have worked. This is the only Stokes potato that's got these roots really growing out of it. And I cut the bottom of it off. And the Stokes potato that had the bottom cut off and grew in all the roots has some good slip activity. The Stokes potato with the top cut off, there's nothing coming out of there yet. I'll be back in a few weeks with the next video, which should be me removing the slips from these sweet potatoes and getting them started in the little starter pots. Then a couple weeks after that, after the date of the last expected frost, planting them out in the garden in the backyard. You may see at that same time a review on this channel for one of those ultrasonic squirrel and rodent repellents, because I suspect sweet potato slips are mighty tasty, and all I need is for the squirrels to discover that. Wish me luck, and I'll see you on the next review.